320, power about 325, and 320 power about 325, 325, 50, got 370 power about 375, 35. I'm not done yet.
All right, people, guess where we are today? That's right, you see that little tiki right there, right, Oceanic Arts. And guess why we're here? This guy, he bought a couple of tikis at the auction.
Yeah.
One big.
Yeah, pretty big ones that I've been fantasizing about since the first time I walked in there.
You got one of the ones that I wanted. So he got this, the coup that everyone's taking photos with in the lobby during the farewell events. So he got that one, and then he got one of the iconic rental tikis. Check it out. He even got a truck to get this stuff home, because this tiki is like 8 feet tall, right?
Yeah, the big one is 8 foot and the other one is 7 foot.
This one's gonna be fun, you guys, because he's got 8-foot ceilings. And he got
hopefully everything fits.
So
hopefully
we're gonna see how that one works out. You're gonna see how that one works out later on in this video. But for now, let's go inside and get these tikis. We are back in the warehouse. You'd never know that this was a venue other than the stage by looking at it now. It looks almost looks the way that it was before, when it was a working business. It's a little bit
cleaner,
and a little more upside down, but you know, it is what it is. All right, so this is the original one.
Yeah.
Do you know what he weighs?
Do not. I would guess probably around 300.
So when he made a copy of that, he made a mold, right?
Any of the big ones, what happened was they had met a guy who was doing fiberglass and was doing it sort of cheaper than he normally would, and they were figuring out, well, what could we double and triple to make for rentals? And so the thing about that is, to make a fiberglass cast of that is like ridiculously expensive.
Right.
Especially if all you're doing is one copy. Anyhow, that guy had made those for OA, and then what happened was Sea and Jungle rented it from OA and then made copies.
Oh, that's pretty slick.
Oh yeah. Well, as we talk about in the book, you know, like Benson rented things from here, then made copies and sold them. But the difference was Bob would call up Benson and be like, hey, those, you know, copies you made of our mask is pretty keen. Can we buy a few of those? Instead of like, I'm going to sue you.
Right. You did an awesome job, by the way. So let me give you your props, first of all. Sending Bob and Leroy off into the sunset with the celebration that they deserved. So thank you for doing that for them. And I'm glad that they got to experience that, because some of these greats, they came and went, and they left with really no fanfare, you know?
Well, there wasn't really any fanfare to give them back then. There wasn't really a fan base. There was, you know, people that were consumers of the stuff. And Bob and Leroy have been around long enough that there's actually a fan base. So this was a good way to sort of, you know, encapsulate their career and say goodbye, and, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, like, what a way to retire too, to just feel all that love and have this month-long party that they basically just, well, I don't know what went on behind the scenes, but it seems like they just had to show up and enjoy it, right? Am I wrong about that?
Oh, no, pretty well. We had Leroy and Bob sweeping a little bit.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
But no, it was more of a situation where they, of course, it's a big adjustment for them. This has been their business since they're 20 years old. And Leroy just turned 87 about 2 weeks ago. Bob will turn 87 in about a month.
Yeah.
And for both of them, it's a very big adjustment, and it's not easy. especially for Bob, because Bob is the one who's definitely been here every day with
Right,
structure.
right.
Leroy was the artist who kind of came in and worked.
Right.
You know, he would work late at night if it suited him, as opposed to Bob, which was always here during business hours. So that's going to be a bit of adjustment for them. But this is something we've been planning for about 3 years now. So
it's crazy to see the warehouse the way that it is now too, considering everything that just happened a month ago. That we were in here with this awesome venue. It's back to Oceanic Arts. Right? We've got the shelves back over here, and we've got things being put together for. Yeah, let's go walk around.
I mean, it really was never not Oceanic Arts. It was supposed to be like Oceanic Arts on, steroids. Basically, the showroom that they always would have loved to have.
Right.
The thing is that even though this is a 10,000 square foot warehouse, it really is small for the amount of stuff that they've had. These racks, everyone who's been to Oceanic Arts recognizes these racks.
Sure.
They were all lined up in this area. We broke them down for the show, and then we knew we were going to build them back up for the fulfillment. So those of you who are watching, who see your stuff on the shelves, I know you've been anxious.
It's coming. It's coming. Be patient.
Yeah, it's as I was explaining to Adrian earlier, this is a situation where, because of the exhibition, we didn't have possession of all this stuff.
Yeah.
Normally it would be at Peekaboo and everything would be tagged and very easy to pull together for everyone's orders. But with over 1,200 lots, I'd say 2,500 items, and over 400 invoices, it's a lot to pull together.
Wow.
And one of the things I would like to let people know, as a disclaimer, is that Peekaboo is a small company, and it was even smaller during COVID. So like Kyra and I have been doing most of the work, and the books were a big issue. We didn't have staff to deal with that, then we had to take them. So it was one of those situations between the exhibition, fulfillment, and everything else. It's just, this is why it's taking a little bit longer for people to get their material. But I'd say we're about 65, 70% of fulfillment now.
Very cool. Wow. I don't know how to feel. I mean, like, Oceanic Arts has been a staple of my life for the past over 2 decades, coming up on 3 decades. And, with these farewell parties, it was a nice way to say goodbye. And now I'm in here and things feel a little bit more normal again. But knowing that it's not, knowing that they're still riding off into the sunset, it's still sad. I mean, like, I'm happy to be back in here, but...
What's the magic word?
Yeah.
Bittersweet.
Bittersweet.
Everyone's been using bittersweet, which it is,
Should have had a cocktail named Bittersweet.
Yeah,
that
right.
was bittersweet.
Actually, I saw it when you were, I was like, oh, that's a good idea. For us, it's literally tearing Oceanic Arts apart little by little every day, which is heartbreaking. But look, this is something that has to happen. Yeah. And we're trying to do it in the most respectful way. I will tell you this, and to your viewers, that Bob and Leroy are extremely happy.
Love it. Love to hear that. Everyone's concerned about that, of course, right? We all want the best for Bob and Leroy, and so I'm glad to hear that. And, they're getting the retirement that they deserve, right? Thanks to your help. Well, yeah, so thank you for that.
Well, and the crew and the OA
and
staff.
Everybody at Peekaboo Gallery and everybody at Oceanic Arts and...
Leroy, by the way, in particular, feels ridiculously validated.
Awesome.
He's never, as most of you know, he's never looked for it. He's never asked for it.
Yeah.
But watching his art be respected in a way that is like fine art as opposed to just commercial art was not something he was expecting, but he really is very, very happy about it. The love that was shown to him from everyone during the exhibits, he's going through a hard time health-wise.
Sure.
But I can tell you this much: he's been hanging on because of that, and it's been really, really good for Leroy. Bob, I think, is like, I noticed a lot of time people would come up to him and say, "Oh, Bob, we love you," and Bob's like, "Yes." He doesn't.
That's Bob.
Yeah,
That's Bob.
very, very
I love
Bob.
it. Yeah.
But he's also, it's just watching his home for 66 years kind of slowly dissipate is a little difficult, but at the same time, he's very happy on that it's happening. And like even today, normally he'd be here on a Saturday, but he's actually by the pool with a Mai Tai.
Good for you, Bob. I love that. All right, and Leroy's workshop. There we go. Wow, you guys cleaned up a lot back here.
Well, it's a mess, but
I know, but I still remember, well, I remember what it was like when Leroy was still working back here, and then I remember how it was during the closing events.
yeah. Well, this was, we had set it up so it was like a Knott's Berry Farm display.
Yeah.
You know, it was, the only thing that sucked was we had these, oh, see, they're not even here. We had red velvet ropes that we thought were a nice touch.
Right.
But we couldn't find them in the last hour of the exhibition when we were putting it together. We were like, where are those velvet ropes? Because I thought that would have looked really, you know, these classy velvet ropes and all this dust and everything. But Leroy's family put together the most incredible display. For those of you who don't know, Leroy's family are the ones that put that particular display together.
Oh, love that.
Yeah, and his daughter Edie's the one who did that famous picture of Leroy, the cutout, where he had the chainsaw.
So where's the cutout? Is it gone?
It's back at Leroy's house.
Oh, it is. Okay.
And it creeps Leroy out. Unbelievable.
I
don't like looking at myself.
I'd love to have a Leroy cutout in my bar, and then have a drink with the Leroy cutout and tell everybody, hey, I'm drinking with Leroy.
So we could figure out a way to acquire that and then rent it to parties, so you can have Leroy and his chainsaw. You know.
There you go.
I'm taking in the smell because what you can't see on video.
Yeah.
There's the familiar smell of the workshop.
Oh yeah.
All right, we got Kyra here, who's helping out with all of the fulfillment. What's it like to tear down Oceanic Arts?
Well, picking apart each object one at a time and sending it off has been kind of painful.
It's gotta be. I mean, just the legacy and everything that's here,
And
you know.
things that we've seen for, decades.
Yeah.
That, we love, sending it off and knowing it's never coming back is kind of...
I'm excited for our friend Ron, who got two of these really awesome tikis from Oceanic Arts in this auction. But I was mentioning to you guys when it was getting loaded, like, wow, like seeing these things leave the building is, it's kind of, I don't know what the right word is, iconic? Not in a positive way, but just kind of, that's just something
momentous.
Momentous, there you go. Momentous, yeah. And it's really, truly the end of an era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a bummer.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer,
Isn't it? So, how do you feel about being part of that, Ron?
It is a bummer, but at the same time, to have something to remember it. I mean, of course, I got a bunch of Oceanic Arts pieces over the years, but to be able to kind of see it and have a memory of being here, being at all the parties, talking to Bob and Leroy, and just talking to them all.
And continuing to give the pieces the love that they deserve, right? Because if they didn't end up with you through Peekaboo Gallery's efforts, then who knows where some of these pieces might end up. Yeah. And they're going to be cherished and loved for the rest of your life and maybe going forward.
For sure.
Well, you look at Sea and Jungle and Polynesian Traders and all the other companies that were producing stuff back then. I'd say 90% of that stuff is probably in the trash heap, if not burnt, or I mean, the longevity of Oceanic Arts has made it so this stuff has survived. Also, a big point is the fact that this was a living catalog, which was a point we made a lot during the exhibition. That's the only reason this stuff is still intact, is because they were catalogs. Always that sign, not for sale, on everything is why it's still here. And as much of a drag as it is that it's leaving Oceanic Arts, it is going to collectors that I doubt any of it's going into the trash.
Yeah. Any pieces that hurt the most to see walk out the door?
Boy, what would it be? I guess the giant lobby sign from Polynesian Village. Polynesian Resort in Disney World.
Yeah.
When Kyra and I brought that down, we had like this ceremony where we shaved off all the dust that had built on the top of it. Remember that?
Yeah.
It must have been like midnight in like July. It was like sweltering hot, but we had this ceremony of like dust gathering, you know.
We still have the cup back there.
Yeah, we're gonna make little amulets, you know, of Polynesian resort dust. You know?
Wow. All right, well, there you go. You're seeing it. The end of an era right here. Thanks again, guys, for everything that you're doing. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Ron, for picking up a couple of awesome pieces.
It's an honor and a privilege, really. Those are the pieces. When I walked in here during our honeymoon in 2001, walked around, and these were the ones that really caught my eyes, and I said, wow, one day I want to have tikis that are larger than me.
I think you've accomplished that.
Yeah. What do you think, Ron? Excited?
Yeah, well, now we have to do the patio project, right?
Right?
Involves breaking the ceiling, hanging all these guys.
Yep.
That's